Countdown. Welcome to the Willie Bragg Show. That is now the new name of this YouTube program that existed since February 17th, 2020, during the primaries last year. As I said in Saturday, that the channel started out as Bernie Bro to cover the Bernie Sanders 2020 presidential campaign, which we know how that turned out. And I don't want to start on the 2020 primary again. Don't get me started. And then it kind of developed into a de facto title of American Social Democracy. At this point, as I said the other day, that it's come to a point where I think this program needs to develop and move forward to reach out. So we're now the Willie Bragg Show, and it's going to remain the Willie Bragg Show, so far as I know, indefinitely. So there you have it. So as the Willie Bragg Show with actual news content, welcome to this version of the first, what is called now, the Willie Bragg Show. So anyway, as you know, there is a congresswoman from Colorado by the name of Lauren Boebert. I dislike her passionately. I will say that I'm going to be magnanimous and say one thing that might come closest to being something positive about her, and that is she's a less insane Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, the politics is just as ugly, and even though she likes to walk around with a gun on her side, to prove what a tough patriot she is or what have you, I will concede that she's less likely to go on a shooting spree. She's just all mouth. She's all mouth, whereas I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene has violent tendencies, and she would eliminate her political opponents if she could get away with it. I don't necessarily think that of Lauren Boebert as much. I just think she is Sarah Palin, younger and dumber. That's basically what I think of Lauren Boebert. And how sad is it that people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene manages to make Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin look almost reasonable. That's where it's gotten, folks. What's next? Gun girl for Congress? Anyway, as you know, last week, Congressman Paul Gosar, one of the other January 6th insurrectionists, did a video anime of himself, Lauren Boebert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene murdering Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, and then attempting to assassinate Joe Biden. And the thing about it is that, Congressman Boebert had his committee's assignments taken away from him, which I still think he got off lightly doing so. I'm a free speech guy, but the very idea of threatening people is not free speech. And anybody who wants to sit there and saying, "Oh, well, you claim to be a free speech guy, but when a push comes to shove, you really want to shut people up." No, that's not it. I mean, I've always thought that yanking Alex Jones off the internet was bullshit. I still think it was bullshit. In fact, if anything, the more people, the more offensive people are when it comes to the comments made by people like an Alex Jones or someone like that. The more I want the world to see what dumbasses they are. In fact, I thought it was dumb that that Twitter took away Donald Trump's Twitter account. So I mean, I am a free speech absolutist, but the line is drawn when you go and threaten someone. But like Farron Cussin said on Ring of Fire, that the right wing thinks that threatening other folks is a form of free speech, and it clearly isn't. But that's not bad enough. You had Lauren Boebert, being the little Karen that she is, doing her thing. So she decides to go and, you have to hear it for yourself. Give me a moment here. And I'll play Lauren Boebert and I'll comment afterwards.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Democrat policies are so pathetic and have done so poorly that the left has nothing else to do but troll the internet looking for ways to get offended and then try to target members and strip them of their committees. This is a dumb waste of the House's time. But since the Speaker has designated the floor to discuss members' inappropriate actions, shall we? The Jihad Squad member from Minnesota has paid her husband, and not her brother husband, the other one, over $1 million in campaign funds. This member is allowed on the Foreign Affairs Committee while praising terrorists.
Whoo-wee. Okay, that was a mouthful there. Okay, she's talking about, Lauren Boebert's talking about, the left is looking for ways to get offended. Well, look into a fucking mirror, you fucking Karen. That's what you need to do. Because obviously you're triggered. And then, she talks about Congresswoman Gosar's committee's assignments being taken away. Well, good. His ass needs to have his committee assignments taken away from him, but he got off lightly by doing so. Honestly, just for the January 6th insurrection alone, since he was one of the instigators, along with Lauren Boebert, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene, along with Louis Gohmert, along with Matt Gaetz and all of these motherfuckers. Throw their asses out of Congress. It won't happen. But that's what needs to happen. Honestly, just that alone will be good enough reason to be kicked out of Congress. But she talks about the dumb waste of time. Waste of time. Well, Lauren Boebert wants to impeach Joe Biden for what? Pulling out of Afghanistan. I mean, that's what she wants, and if Kevin McCarthy is Speaker of the House next year, she will probably write the article of impeachment, and knowing how unhinged the Republican Party's getting more and more these days, there will probably be some serious debate about trying to impeach Joe Biden. And, before anybody says, oh, well, you're just being a partisan hack. No, and Tulsi Gabbard got in trouble. As mad as I am with Tulsi Gabbard, she got in trouble the first time over the impeachment thing. I actually still think in that one she was technically correct, not necessarily for her reasons. I opposed the first impeachment against Donald Trump because there was no Russian connection as far as I was concerned. But it was also another concern I had, and that concern was if Donald Trump is impeached, and then he did get impeached. If it was a trial and he got removed from the presidency, the United States will be stuck with Mike Pence, who's further right wing than Donald Trump. Yeah, I know Donald Trump is loud and bombastic and obnoxious, but you have you have this wimpy guy who looks like Race Bannon from Johnny Quest, but wimpy and mousy, who dots the I's and slashes the T's, and all the really shitty stuff that was going on in the Trump administration. The obnoxious right wing culture war shit was done by Mike Pence. That would have been your president. And as I said before, Mike Pence is so far to the right that he makes Donald Trump look like Elizabeth Warren by comparison. So, but the insurrection attempt, yeah, I was 100% for Trump being impeached that second time. Yeah, I was 100% in favor of it and everything. And the thing about it is, as I said, that will be a waste of time to remove Biden for attempting to remove Biden for office for the one thing that he significantly done correctly, probably the most correct policy of his entire presidency for what he did in Afghanistan several months ago, which was to pull out. 20 years in Afghanistan is more than enough. And one wonders if one day in Afghanistan would have been proper or not. But 2 fucking decades. 2 fucking decades in Afghanistan. So, she shows she's like 1 foot in alt-right territory, but she keeps that 1 foot in the Bush-Cheney doctrine territory too. That's probably the worst kind of person. Somebody who is partially Richard Spencer, but partially Dick Cheney. Now, I think that's probably worse than actually being Dick Cheney by himself or Richard Spencer by himself. But when you manage to have take a position that's 1/2 Richard Spencer and 1/2 Dick Cheney, that actually makes somebody worse, and that would be Lauren Boebert. The Islamophobic language of the Jihad Squad. You're referring to the Squad. Here's the thing: the January 6th insurrectionists were the American Taliban, as far as I'm concerned. They're the actual Jihad Squad. The Squad, well, if one is feeling generous from my political perspective, one could say, what do you mean Jihad Squad? They're just a bunch of European style social democrats. I wish I could say that, but what Squad are just basically foot soldiers for the corporate Democrats with some over the board woke skull nonsense, which doesn't help matters any. So, but the thing about it is, signaling out Ilhan Omar with the conspiracy theory about her being married to her brother, the first husband, what have you. That's the new birtherism, folks. Back in the Tea Party days of Obama, they claimed that Obama was a Kenyan-born Muslim trying to destroy Western civilization. And when in reality, Obama was born in Hawaii. And while Obama was raised Muslim as a young kid, I don't think he was all that religious as a Muslim, and he became a Christian later on for political reasons. It looks good to go to church if you're trying to go and be a political person, so he joined the United Church of Christ, which is a liberal mainline Protestant denomination that goes back to the days of the Pilgrims, the country's founding. Before the country's founding, rather. Thing about it is, but you couldn't convince them of that. Honestly, when it comes to religiosity of Donald Trump and religiosity of Barack Obama, I think personally, in my opinion, and this is actually neither a criticism of Obama nor Trump, but I personally think that that they're both either extremely lukewarm Christians or closeted soft atheists. And again, either direction. It's not a criticism, but people want to project religion into everything in this country, and which is silly. But the thing about it is that Ilhan Omar did not commit incest with her brother. And Ilhan Omar is currently married to an American white guy. What's his name? Tim Minette. So, anyhow, and she talks about how scared she is about 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 the Foreign Affairs Committee with regard to Ilhan Omar. I'm fucking more scared of Liz Cheney having any say on foreign policy than Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is actually trying to put a stop to sales of arms to Saudi Arabia. And you want to know the ramifications of that? The thing is, she cares more about protecting the West from terrorism than someone like Lauren Boebert, who I'm sure is going to be okay with selling arms to Saudi Arabia. Because, you know, when we sell arms to Saudi Arabia, you know what that means? That means the genocide in Yemen continues. That means that not only does the genocide in Yemen continues, that also means that some of the equipment and some of the resources are actually funding and helping out, supplying some assistance to actual terrorist movements against the West, and Ilhan Omar is opposed to that. Yeah, I know some people say, well, wasn't she a member of Al Qaeda? Well, John Ratzinger in Germany, who became Pope Benedict XVI later on, was forced to join Hitler's youth in the 1930s. It was German law. He deserted the army during World War II as a corporal. So I don't think that Pope Benedict XVI was a Nazi sympathizer. Just as I do not think that Ilhan Omar was an Al Qaeda sympathizer. In such a situation, she was forced, just as John Ratzinger was forced. So, you know, the thing about it is that people want to go and try that game or what have you. You can go ahead and try, but I will go counter it with truth every time. And the thing about it is that people also made these remarks about Ilhan Omar when she made a comment about the American Israeli Political Action Committee. Her statement is all about the Benjamins, and they're like, anti-Semite! Anti-Semite! She hates the Jews because she criticized AIPAC! Well, the thing about it is this. Which is more irrational? Marjorie Taylor Greene thinking that California fires were caused by Jewish satellites from outer space, or Ilhan Omar saying, well, AIPAC is a special interest group, you know, that a lot of money buys influence, and AIPAC is kind of a corrupt a special interest group. That's correct. It is. It is. And this has nothing to do with being pro or anti-Israel, but it's a lobby group. And that lobby group buys influence, just as a lot of other lobbyist groups do as well. So, to sit there and call Ilhan Omar for making very tepid remarks against AIPAC, while Marjorie Taylor Greene, the QAnon representative in Congress, saying that Jewish satellites from outer space are shooting lasers down into California, causing the California wildfires. Which is more rash? Which is more or less rash? Which is more anti-Semitic? The conspiracy theories about Jewish satellites, or a special interest group that's trying to buy influence? If you're not a partisan hack, you know the answer. So, the thing about it is Ilhan Omar perfect? No, she's not perfect, but thankfully she's not Lauren Boebert either, because that's far from perfect. Honestly. Anyhow, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, we'll comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to share the content on this channel, and please subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell. Will you do that, please? Pretty please. And once again, I am Willie Bragg, host of the Willie Bragg Show, and I hope to see you all next time. Later on. Good night.